Yo, MHU, what's up? Cincy here. Hopping at you guys with the third episode of the Archer Watch. If you've been following along with the Archer Watch, basically it's the foundation for an award that will be given at the end of the cycle. At the end of every cycle going forward, we will be giving out an award called the Archer. And basically it is being given out to the player that when we look back on this cycle, we can say this player is the most memorable player of the cycle. We've done a few episodes so far, trying to do 3 a season. And when we look at the players in the running for the Archer right now at this point in the second season, the players at the top of the list are not the ones that were there at the top of the list last season. Really, last season, the 3 players that I really hyped, all 3 of them have fallen off. One is hurt, one is like, I don't know, on a cruise with bread somewhere as well. Cousin Vinny runs the Chiefs, and the other got completely benched. So whatever. Right off the bat, we're going to look at. We're going to look at some players that are in the running. We're going to look at some players that have fallen off. And we're going to just make some honorable mentions. Right off the bat, a player that has fallen off, the one that I mentioned that I hyped last season, but has totally been benched this season. Corey Linsley of the Green Bay Packers. Center, like, you look at the player, nothing leaps out about like this guy. Like, he's amazing, you know? He's just like average lineman. But he gave up 0 sacks last season. The player with the closest downs played to him last season that gave up 0 sacks had like 200 less snaps than him. It was ridiculous. 0 sacks allowed the entire season. What does the Packers do after Corey Linsley gets this hype raise? He benches him. Like, he improved his offensive line, and because of the improvements, he felt he was in position to bench Corey Linsley. The thing about it, though, like, I question this move. Like, this guy had this amazing season, and then you bench him. Like, Corey Linsley, he's only been in the league a handful of years, still pretty young, 77 overall, when you're starting a guard who's 79 overall and 30 years old. Whatever, like, you run your team the way you want to do it. If it was me, like, that I would have moved that center to the guard position and started the young guy, the young stud who gave up no sacks last season over the 30-year-old bum who did give up sacks last season. Anyway, so let's move on. There's no other offensive linemen in the running for the Archer Award because, well, it's an offensive line, you know? Like, these guys, they're not nice and shiny like Corey Linsley was last season. But anyways, let's move on. And let's talk about a position that everyone's kind of like foaming at the mouth for right now. No, I'm not talking about offensive line. Chuck, back off. Talking about linebackers. There are 3 linebackers that are just raising the bar on what a user linebacker should look like. Those 3 guys: Ryan Shazier, Anthony Barr, Shaq Thompson. Shaq Thompson has gotten an incredible amount of love. Anthony Barr is getting an incredible amount of love. But Ryan Shazier is outperforming both of them, but nobody's really talking about Ryan Shazier, and I think they should. But let's back off and start with the guy who's probably getting the most love, but has also most underperformed out of them all. And really, like, it's super close. Like, Shazier has 11 INTs, Barr has 10, and Thompson has 9. Shaq Thompson, he's the most underperformed this season. last season he came out the gates running. Nobody could keep up with him. What Prevel did with him, everybody took notice. People started watching his games to see what he was doing so they could implement it in their own game. I'll be honest, this season I've played both Wood and Frank. I've not played Prevel this season, so I can't really speak too much for my experience with his user. But honestly, Prevel's not having the most pretty season. I think the expectations for him going into this season were a lot higher, and I don't think he's met that mark of what was thought he would do. And maybe a lot of that has to do with Shaq Thompson underperforming, because you get those turnovers, and those turnovers they get turned into gold. I can definitely see Prevel having a much stronger second half of this season, and if he's going to, I believe it's going to come from Shaq Thompson surging up this list and taking his spot as the best user linebacker in the league. Moving on though, Anthony Barr. Frank has been getting a lot of love with what he's doing with Anthony Barr this season. He's got the INTs to show for it, but when I've played Frank, his user style seemed different than when I played Wood. When I played Wood would just sit in coverage. The threat was in coverage. When you play Frank, what he's doing with Anthony Barr, it goes beyond sacks. Anthony Barr is a threat in the run support. Frank recently was in the game of the week against Mickey. We didn't really see that run support aspect in the game of the week. Frank was shooting a lot of gaps probably before he should have, and Anthony Barr was getting blocked up in blocks or whatever. When I played Frank, he was shooting those gaps and he was killing those gaps. When I played Frank, Anthony Barr was probably an even bigger threat in the run game than in pass coverage. So really, when you play Frank, you have to watch his user beyond what he's doing in coverage, because he will read and diagnose the play and blow it up even in the running game. Shazier though, when I played Wood, he completely took away a third of the field. He took away a third of the field, and he would close windows in a second. A lot of it probably has to do with I suck, but he had 9 interceptions against me, and I'm pretty sure most of them were user INTs. I couldn't do anything in the passing game. I was being stubborn, and I was like, this is bullcrap. I hate Madden. I'm going to pass it anyways. My guys are open. Bullcrap. And in my stubbornness, the INT total just kept scrolling up. You can't pass on Wood. You gotta run the ball. So good luck. Moving beyond the linebackers though, and if it was the end of the cycle right now, Ryan Shazier would be the guy I would be looking at in the running for the Archer. The other two would be honorable mentions at this point in time. Though those honorable mentions, it's a tight race between the linebackers. Moving ahead though, let us look at wide receivers. Last season, I prematurely crowned Tyreek Hill this guy's going to win it. As many of you know though, Brett is on vacation somewhere, is locked up in a psych ward on a cruise, and Cousin Vinny's running the Chiefs. Cousin Vinny's not doing too hot with Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill was king of the league last season. This season, Tyreek Hill is number 9 in most passing yards, and he only has 3 touchdowns. Brett, you need to come back to your Chiefs. You need to grab the controller. You need to get out of the psych ward. You need to get off that boat. You need to get in front of your TV with your controller in your hand. You need to audible Tyreek to the street. You need to hike the ball, and you just need to throw it up and let Tyreek Hill do his thing like you were last season, because I don't know what you're doing this season. The man has 3 touchdowns. Like, what the heck, Brad? What the heck? Like, Chuck needs to make one of his episodes with the F and the O and the H about this. Like, what are you doing, Brad? What are you doing? 3 touchdowns. Come on, son. Like, no. This is ridiculous. This is the biggest disappointment I have ever seen. Like, if you're gonna lose, at least make an effort and give the ball to Tyreek Hill, okay? Like, you're not giving your guy the ball. Like, Brett, you are Tyreek Hill. Why? I shouldn't be directing my frustration at you, Brett. I should be directing it at Cousin Vinny. You need to find someone else to play for you other than Cousin Vinny. I could do a better job than what Cousin Vinny's doing for you right now. Okay? Okay, Brett. Okay. And speaking of, I could do a better job, Brett. Do you know who, like, they're like right now? There's a guy from New York that's like leading the wide receivers, but right under him, biting at his toes, there's this guy he plays for, the Cincinnati Bengals, and he's right on his toes, Brett. His name is John Ross. Okay, Brett. John Ross has 869 yards right now in the league. That is second most of wide receivers. He's averaging 108.6 yards a game, 25.6 yards a catch, and he has 5 more touchdowns than Tyreek Hill. He has a total of 8 touchdowns. His name is John Ross. John Ross, he's right on the heels of the number 1 receiver in the league. And that number 1 receiver, Odell Beckham Jr. 871 yards, 26.4 average, and 124.4 yards a game with 8 touchdowns. Though I believe, like, you look at his numbers compared to John Ross's numbers, like, they're like neck and neck. But I believe that John Ross has played his Week 9 game while Odell Beckham Jr. has not. So, like, Odell Beckham Jr. is performing like ahead of game pretty much. So, Odell Beckham's got, it looks close, but he's got a pretty strong lead. Moving past the wide receivers, though, the quarterbacks. Last season, the quarterbacks no one really stood out. I believe for the first time there is a quarterback who stands out, and right now I'd put this quarterback at the number 2 spot in the Archer Watch. But let's slow down a little bit. 2 honorable mentions. One honorable mention is also from New York, Kyle Lauletta. He got a lot of praise last season, but he's completely fallen off the map. Like, I'm like over here saying, Kyle Lauletta, who? Like, I praised this guy? I gave this guy love? What? Like, Kyle Lauletta has had a very disappointing season. 1,352 yards, that's respectable. 12 touchdowns, respectable. 15 INTs, though. Like, more, like, I'm not going to give the Archer Award to somebody whose interception totals outweigh their touchdowns. And also, a big, like, beautiful mark in Kyle Lauletta's case last season was his completion percentage. Kyle Lauletta is sitting at 65% completion. So right now, Kyle Lauletta, you're off the list. Goodbye. Like, hopefully these numbers translate and Odell Beckham Jr. starts to have a crappy season, so John Ross can surge ahead, and I can like if John Ross ends this season like with the most yards and out of wide receivers, like, out of bias, I'm probably going to make him like number 1 in the Archer Watch. But if it was like the end of the cycle, I wouldn't do that. I'd have a very hard time. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have a hard time giving my player the Archer Watch or the Archer Award. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Kyle Lauletta, you're off the list. Goodbye. The most honorable mention quarterback, though, the guy who, if it ended right now, he wouldn't get the award, but I want him to do good so I can give him the award, is rookie quarterback Zach Vazquez. If you rewind and look at the last Archer Award video, we talked about how he like fell hardcore in the draft, was projected to go like top 3. OMG ended up picking him up towards the end of the first. And when he picked him up, he made a statement in chat that Zach Vasquez was going to be the first quarterback, the first Latino quarterback to win the Super Bowl. If OMG can make true on this promise, like, I would be hard pressed not to give him the award, despite what all of the numbers look like. And Zach Vasquez is actually having a pretty good season. Like, it's not like foam out the mouth, like amazing season, but he's having a good season, and the Buccaneers are the Buccaneers. Like, they're doing good. Zach Vasquez, 1,972 yards. It's actually third most yards out of all the quarterbacks, so maybe it is a foam out the mouth season. The biggest kind of hesitation mark is his touchdowns to INT ratio. It's not bad. He's thrown as many touchdowns as he has interceptions, 16 for 16. And like probably the most biggest mark is his completion percentage, which is at 62%. Like, it's got to be better than that. But the number one quarterback who has said, like, last season, all y'all quarterbacks are bums, nobody made the list, but I'm making the list this season. It pains me to say it. Actually, it doesn't, because if the Cincy curse is true, then I'm just pouring it on this guy. Andrew Luck is the first quarterback to be like, I'm on the list. Yards wise, like, it's not pretty, like, it's respectable, 1,356 yards. As far as being efficient, though, he's like, I'm Mac Daddy. That's what he's saying. 8 touchdowns. Not amazing, but 8 touchdowns. Like, John Ross has like that many touchdowns, but Andrew Luck has 8 touchdowns, and then get this, 3 interceptions. So 8 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, and the completion percentage is at 76. I know last season we had guys with better than that. This season, though, like, that's number 2 best completion percentage, with the completion percentage, the only completion percentage being better is from a guy out of Chicago with 77% completion. But that guy's INT to touchdown ratio, he's got more INTs, so I'm not even going to mention a guy by name who has more INTs than touchdowns. No hate, like, my players are like, Josh Rosen's never going to be on this list because he has like more interceptions like in one game than probably most quarterbacks have in all their games. So moving ahead though to the position that is getting a lot of love, the running backs. Last season, I got a lot of hate for Todd Gurley not being number 1 on the list. Todd Gurley has been injured like all season, doesn't even have 100 yards. It'll be interesting to see what he does next season though. And then Leonard Fournette got a lot of love last season. Like, he's not even like blah. Like, he has 3.7 yards average carry. Like, that's good. I wish I could do that, but that's not enough. And then Dalvin Cook for the Vikings was the leading rusher behind that monster line that Chuck built in the offseason. And it looked like he's going to run away with things this season. However, Dalvin Cook suffered an injury and has been out a few games. And while he has been out, Ezekiel Elliott has just taken the league by storm. Not a lot of people is talking about what Sweets has done with Ezekiel Elliott, but he's on pace to shatter what Todd Gurley did last season. And not only is he on pace to shatter it, but he already has 15 touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott is having a monster season. And also, please remember, he took over the Cowboys like 4 games, I think, in the season. So, like, 4 of these games, like, Ezekiel Elliott's numbers are downplayed. They are hampered by what Beasley did with the Cowboys. So on top of like Beasley's like, I'm gonna make this team crappy shenanigans, Sweets comes in, takes them over, and turns Ezekiel Elliott into this monster. I would be afraid to see what Sweets will do with Ezekiel Elliott when he has an entire season to do what he will with him. When he has an entire offseason to shape this broken Cowboys team into what his image would be. I'm not ready to crown Sweets and Ezekiel Elliott with the Archer. But like what he's done and the time he has had is scary. What I'm most interested to see though is what happens next season when Sweets has the time to mold this team and have an entire season, and then Wood also has Todd Gurley. I want to see Ezekiel Elliott and Todd Gurley go head to head, and in the mix of that, I want to see if Dalvin Cook can stay on pace with these heavy hitters. So in recap, the players the players that I believe would be on the list right now: Ryan Shazier, Andrew Luck, Odell Beckham Jr., and Ezekiel Elliott. Those are like the four guys leading the way, with a lot of guys in the undercard biting at the ankles. It's going to be exciting to see how this season finishes. Right now, I think Ezekiel Elliott is on pace to just be like, there's no close contender to me right now. But it'll be interesting to see how things go. It'll be interesting to see if any running back can challenge Ezekiel Elliott with Dalvin Cook out for a few more weeks. I don't think so. It'll be interesting to see if maybe Tyreek Hill can have a better second half of the season. It'll be interesting to watch how things with Andrew Luck unfolds as well. I'm interested to see who comes out on top in the mix of these close linebackers that are fighting for like the top spot. Very disappointed with the Corey Linsley situation. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things play out from here. Good luck to everybody with the second half of your season.